Welcome to another episode of 10,000 Hours and Counting, my podcast offering support for those of us on our spiritual path, this never-ending quest, which is never boring. And today I wanted to talk to you about keeping the faith in difficult times. I wanted to say, how do we do this? How do you do this? And how have you done this? It can be so important that when things are difficult and certainly when it's something that everybody is experiencing, when there are certain global instabilities, it's not just your personal fears and worries. There are things happening in the world which are making people very uncomfortable for different reasons. So, how do you keep the faith when all seems lost, when all seems dark or hopeless, even at a personal level, when you feel that you've been trying for quite some time to get something to happen or to heal a condition, a physical condition, an energetic, spiritual condition, emotional relationship condition, and you feel that you have been putting in effort and it just doesn't seem to be getting you anywhere, and hopelessness is wanting to arise, within you. How do you keep the faith? You don't have to pretend that things are great if they certainly don't feel they are, but you will need to dig a little deeper into your own heart space, the frequency of your heart, and drop out of the thinking mind and what its dance is, and look for the reason behind what is happening. Because the truth is that we do live in a benevolent, kind universe at a spiritual level. It is there wanting to have the betterment of us all spiritually. We do receive support, but we need to come through the challenges whilst we hold the faith within. So, if you are a spiritual being and you believe in certain concepts that other people may not, and you believe in the power of prayer, and you understand that we all come into this world with a guardian presence, an angelic presence, and you understand that we are connected to Source, that all of us have a soul and we are connected to the source of all that is, then you will have a time in your life where you're going to be really tested of needing to rely on these spiritual, mysterious, unseen belief systems. You're going to need to put those into place as the building blocks of your life and not be looking to the material world to give you the solutions and the answers that you need. It's like stepping off one path, like off the highway of humanity, and stepping off onto that winding, wizarding path of the unexpected, the path less traveled. That amazing book from the early 90s, M. Scott Peck, very inspirational to me. You're going to need to step off and you're going to need to be in your own mystery school where it might feel that at times you're blindfolded or you're just following one lantern light at a time on a very dark and seemingly treacherous path. But you cannot be a spiritual being at a concept level. At some point, that's going to fail you. You're going to be asked to apply these beliefs to your life. Now, one really wonderful thing to do is when you're in the depths of your own challenge and you're feeling that there doesn't seem to be much hope, is to look for ways to ignite your own power by pulling it back from certain places where you may not have consciously realized that it is placed, either in other people or in institutions or things like that, in groups. And you might need to almost cut yourself off in a way from thinking too much outside or speaking too much outside about your concerns to others, and bring your energy back into you. It's like a self-empowerment. So again, I did say cut off. It's not the same way as actually, isolating yourself, but it's about empowering yourself to understand that there will be times on the path where, a bit like the 90-10 rule that I discussed in an earlier episode, where you will just need to bring more of your energy into the moment for you, into your body, and you will have less time of wanting to be out there looking for answers, learning things, discussing with others. You'll be bringing your energy into the moment for you. And energy in this case is, I'm thinking about your chi, so your life force energy, because that connects to other people. So the life force energy does connect you to others. And sometimes that's where, as sensitives, people get confused between what they can sense, which is the everything, and themselves, And you need to be able to have a purity of intent where you're not cutting yourself up or leaving that to dry up, that connection to dry up, but you are just bringing back vibrancy into yourself. Uh, I really thought that it was important at this stage too to talk about self-empowerment where we claim our own power. And sometimes I've had clients say, and then certainly I've had other practitioner friends talk about times in their life where they're a little bit concerned that what they're doing in the world, maybe it's ego that they're out there giving these healings and teaching what they're teaching, or trying to start this particular project. And I always say to people, I truly believe that if you're worried that it might be ego and not just your own truth and inner power, you don't have to worry. You don't have to think that that's what it is, because someone who was an egomaniac is not going to question, am I being egomaniacal? And it sounds funny, but I think if you've got that little radar, that filter within to say, oh, is this me being egotistical or being stuck in my heavy human thinking mind? Then you've already got your answer because you've asked the question. Being aware of that, being able to see that maybe there were times when, you were stuck more in the thinking mind, even if there are times when you feel you were, the fact that you're able to bring it through and question it and not just continue to act out a pattern means you're willing to be freed from these concepts of power and freed from the times when a little bit of fear arises within you and something in you says, I don't think it's safe for me to be my true power in this situation. I'm concerned that in me sharing my truth, something bad is going to happen. So we claim our inner sovereignty. We have to be kind to ourselves and to trust that even if you had made some misstep with your power somewhere along the line, if you're now concerned about that, you're on the path to freedom from that. So you're not letting yourself hold back on what you know and what you want to share and your ideas. And you're also not letting yourself build yourself up or blow yourself up into something more important that you are. You understand that you are a part of this sacred ecosystem of spiritual beings, of human beings working in consort with spirit. So anything you're wanting to offer from a pure place of your heart to share in the world, basically the seed of that dream comes through spirit to your heart, and you can be a conduit for that dream. So it can't exist without a conduit, and maybe you're not the one for it at the time if you don't feel ready. They will say sometimes, the muse will come to you, but if you're not ready in that moment to take it, it will move until the idea is given birth in the way it needs to in the world. But there'll be another wave coming for you at a time when you feel that you can step into your power and claim yourself as a being of light and speak your truth in the world. If we're going to talk about power too, and we're going to talk about the right use of it, I think it's also something that we need to address is, once again, we come down to the uniqueness of each being. And especially when you're talking about the spiritual path, where aside from just the basic belief in source and universal consciousness and God, for want of a better term, because that can be polarizing in certain circles, but believing in spiritual energy, you're going to find so many people believing in certain aspects of it, the many facets and faces of the divine, but they're all the one thing in the end. What I'm trying to point out here is I almost want to turn like this. I want to say, check your own rule book at this stage in the game. Yes, that's what I want to say. Check your own rule book, because we're all playing on the playing field together. And there's so much opportunity to hear, to see, and know what other people are doing in all realms, but certainly in the spiritual realm. It's out there all the time. And even those that you love who are spiritual practitioners, even family members, you're going to start finding that there's still points where you're comparing yourself to someone else's journey. You might hear what they're doing and see what they're doing and really admire it, but maybe there's a little part of you that is using the admiration. It's actually minimizing you rather than just feeling wonderful for them and then feeling wonderful for you that there's opportunities. If you're looking at someone's success or what someone is doing in the world that you admire, and then you're turning that lens back on yourself and saying, what have you done? You really need to stop that immediately, if possible. That's where I have that rule book thing came to me. There's a difference between moving to the beat of your own drum. So being able to follow that and being able to have people around you who are open to the energy of you. They don't need to label you or think that you're just one way, but you need to be able to follow that beat of your heart and take the unexpected steps as they arise, because when you're on the spiritual path, there'll be so many things that are inexplicable, so many things you feel guided to do, or something that you feel passionate about to put energy in, and you don't know at the beginning what this is going to be, but something in you that's not the logical mind, something in you in your heart says, keep going, this is important, even if it only ends up being important for you, but you put energy and dedication and devotion into it. So if you're looking at your own path and the quirkiness of your path, and you're starting to feel a bit lonely with that, that means that, again, let's go back to that analogy of the rule book. I think that you've probably turned it upside down. You're reading from the wrong page, because we don't need to be, we're not here to be isolated from others where we don't feel that we have a sense of belonging. We are here to continually keep opening our hearts and opening to each other opportunities and safe spaces to be ourselves. But in those spaces, you possibly won't be in total agreement with everyone there, and you probably won't even be doing your spiritual work in the same way that they are. So if you're comparing to those around you, or those you don't know that you've seen on social media that you admire, doesn't matter what other people are doing. We don't need to be concerned. It's not my concern what it is other people are doing. But if it's something that you admire and you feel that you would almost like to do, or it was an idea you thought you had that you worried you hadn't acted on, there's enough spiritual energy in the world for all of us, for all of the practitioners to share, because it's a unique frequency that comes from each practitioner. And I've probably spoken about this before. So 100 Reiki practitioners are all going to resonate with different clients, because they're giving the basis of Reiki, but then it's coming through that individual soul in a particular way, or a particular line of the teaching that they undertook and they are now master of. So it doesn't matter. It's not the same as saying, oh, this field must be filled now with people doing this work, and what have I got to add to it? There's always something to be added if it exists within your heart, and not just your mind as an awesome concept to try because it's, looks faddish at the moment. If you're listening to my podcast, I cannot imagine that you would be thinking in that way, but I'm just bringing this through this theme. So don't let yourself feel isolated. If now at this time you're just feeling that you're a bit run down from what's been going on, that you've been putting in a lot of effort, to loop back to what I was saying before at the beginning, you seem to have been putting in a lot of effort and maybe the results aren't quite what you were expecting, or it seems to be just crickets coming back at you from all that you've output. Just take a moment to understand that there's a reason for all that is happening, and just tell yourself that there is a reason for what is happening, and that you don't need to do something sort of strong-willed and just start dropping projects or things that haven't worked, just tossing it out into the garbage or anything like that, or trying to start again. Just be for a moment and rest, and just be in the space. See if you can look at what you've achieved and even just say, wow, look how much time I've put into that. Even if you don't think you can see results, just be willing to say, I have been dedicated to that and I have been making progress, all through this time, whatever it is. Look for the small wins, because if you can't do that for yourself, it might be hard to get other people to do it for you, especially when you've got those loved ones and you might be coming to them with your, oh, you want to complain because you need to vent. I'm not sure, I haven't done enough. And they might not be able to know from listening to your frequency that you've actually put in huge effort, and they might address your human words and then make you feel worse. Does that make sense? They might say, oh, they might advise you of ways to put extra effort in. And in actual fact, you've just used the wrong human words in the frequency and you've complained. So you attract like a complaining energy of they will teach you and school you how to be, and then you're going to feel totally isolated. So you want to be in a position where you can have loved ones, where you can share where you're at, but also not be speaking in a tone or using words unconsciously that is creating a need in them to want to help you, and then you're going to feel that you've been somehow minimized. I'm just going to share that theme with you because I've heard it before. I know it's happened to me, and I've heard people talking, and it's like, you attract what you don't want because you're using these words and you're getting back the response you don't want, whereas you just want someone to hold the space for you and be like your encouragement and say, but you've done so well and remember how much you love that thing. Rules of the game. Who are you playing with? Who are the other players around you? You know, are they part of your team or is it kind of a catch and free for all? I think that you can give yourself permission to say, you know what? I do want to be here on my own and doing things in my own way, but I'm going to keep putting out my radar for those other quirky people who support me no matter what, who just want for me what I want for me and want for them. We all want success for each other and we want this the feeling of heart fulfillment. And when you want to be of service to the light and service to others, you do need to keep serving yourself with the passion to keep going because these kinds of things don't always just come out of nowhere and overnight just sort of blossom. You've got to put in the energy and work with the universe. It's that divine Rubik's Cube where the timing is always the adjustments, the mini adjustments. The divine timing can never be rushed, and you are always in the process of that. So give yourself a lot of encouragement at this stage. Look for ways that you can keep the faith. It is so important that we keep hope alive in our hearts, not just for ourselves, but for all on earth, because there will be people who are unable to do so because of their circumstances. And we just need to dig deep and say, I'm not going to be swayed into fear energy. I am going to stand in my truth and continue to choose love and continue to look for the best in myself, in my life, and in the world around me. It's a choice to make, and it's not always easy, but you will feel a lot better when you look for the good, because if you look, even if it seems infinitesimally small good, if you start looking for it, you will find it. Conversely, if you start looking for all of the terrible things that are happening, you will find a lot of that too. Again, be in your own inner sovereignty and choose peace and choose to believe that things are getting better. We are in this ascension process. It is happening now. Hearts are opening. What happens when people's hearts open is some people, the opening causes a deep feeling of suffering after all that has gone through, and the person really needs to be in that suffering for a while. And some people's hearts open and they feel more of a sense of connection. But in the end, ultimately, it's still a journey back to the heart and back to wholeness, which is what we've all come from and which still exists within us all. That purity of self, that inner divine sovereignty of your own inner power, power which does not desire to take over others, but which desires to be part of building something and creating something new on earth for the spiritual benefit of all beings. And you are part of these many, many, many drops in this massive cosmic ocean of human beings, spiritual beings. We are all one, we are all the same. So that's what I wanted to bring through. Check your game listing at the moment. Make sure that you're on the right page and be your own empowerment and allow those around you to empower you. And if you feel you're not getting that from certain avenues, just draw your energy back to you and just utilize that energy for yourself until it's time for you to move out in another way and take the next turn on your spiral. Well, many blessings to you. This has been an incredible season so far of 10,000 hours and counting, and I look forward to another season next year in 2025. So from my sacred space and my heart to yours, may you allow yourself some downtime at the end of this year, some processing and some celebration of all that you've put in and all of the difficulties you've been through, and celebrate your wins, as we spoke about in one of the earlier episodes. You need to do it for you. It's important. And you'll feel so much better when you give yourself that gift. All right, goodbye for now. And I will return to this space next year with more musings and more support as we move into a whole nother essence, energy, and frequency. Bye.